I had to give you warnings. You wouldn't talk through it. Hi, friends. Welcome to the Backlist Bookclub live show. If you're watching the playback, let me know in the comments what you rated Girl in the Stars, since that is what we are here to talk about, which is book 1. And before we get into anything, I'm going to remind you that book 2 is for January and February, with the live show probably the 3rd weekend of March. So you do have a lot of time for this one. But that's that. That's all I had to say. I'd be really interested to know how many people have read the Book of the Ancestor series before getting into this one. Sahar, did you read it? I don't think so, right? Yeah,
No,
so this is your first time. Yeah. And then we're going to go around and you are all going to introduce your channel. While you're at it, you may as well tell your thoughts and your rating on the book, non-spoiler, and also in the comments, I would love to know what you rated the book. I also, as always, would love to know your favorite character.
Is that my cue?
Yeah.
Unfortunate. Okay. From Malamar Reads, I read a lot of fantasy, indie fantasy, and have recently really gotten into the romantasy genre. It's one of my faves, but I love Mark Lawrence's stuff. This is like my 5th book, I think, from him. And I've rated most of his things 4 and 5 stars. Really, really enjoy them. Far as thoughts on this one, I ended up, are we giving star ratings?
Yep.
Okay. I ended up giving it a 4-star. I really enjoyed it. I did not quite like it as much as the first book of the Book of the Ancestor, but I think a large part of that was just I didn't connect with Yaz as much. To me, this was much more of a plot-driven story, whereas the Book of the Ancestor is very character-driven in a lot of ways. But I enjoyed it a lot, and I'm curious to see, because I like the world was really, really strong in this, so I really want to see more of the world and how that like ties into the Book of the Ancestor stuff. So I had a good time. I don't know if I don't remember character names. It's been a while, so I will chime in when somebody says a character that I'm like, yes, I like them.
I'm Maria from the channel Maria Might Read That, which has been inactive and will at some point become active again. Who knows when? I read fantasy and then have been palette cleansing also with like some romance in the last year. So historical romance, some fantasy romance, and then some contemporary romance. I'm liking all of them. And I gave this 3 stars. So I'm at the 3 stars for pretty much all Mark Lawrence books so far. But it's on the like higher end. It's almost getting a 3.5 is where it was at. It was an interesting one because I was bored for most of it. I thought I was not going to continue on. I was like, I don't care. I'm really bored by the plot. I was not invested. And then in the end, I actually thought I was so invested in the characters, weirdly, about when things were happening to them. But when I also think of like who my favorite character is, I don't know that I have one. Maybe Thurin, however you say it. Thurin, however you say it. But other than that, like I don't know that I like any of them individually the most, but I like their dynamic. I think they're more distinguishable than Book of the Ancestor side characters.
Interesting.
But I also
would agree
that like I think Nona was more memorable than Yaz, but I like them both. I think they're both likable. I think it's something with the plot and the writing style for me where it's like concept wise I like everything he's doing. It just isn't connecting as much as I would want it to.
That's fair. Becca, you are next then, Sahar.
Okay. My channel will be Witchbacks. See, I was gonna say that I actually post regularly now, but I usually do for like the first 4 months of the year, and then like the last 3 months of the year, and those middle ones are free for all. So, but I also gave this a 3-star. But like Maria, a much higher 3-star than Book of the Ancestor, and like I do think if I was reading it last year, I probably would have given it a 4-star. But towards the end of last year and the start of this year, I've realized that my rating system is kind of weird. So it is a 3-star, but as I said, if I read it last year, it probably would have been a 4. But I liked this. I actually liked it from the beginning. I know a lot of people said that like it's hard, like kind of slower to get into and all of that, but I'm not sure. Because I said this, I'm not sure did I say it in the last live show or was it after we had finished the live show? I was talking about the audiobook, and I listened to them all as audiobooks. But this one, for some reason, Scribd does not have the first book. And so I had to read the ebook. And I'm not sure, is it actually the audiobook that is making me, that actually I don't like. Because
Could be.
I immediately, everything just like clicked so much better. Like I already, like within like a couple of pages of this book, I already felt like I had a better understanding of the world, despite the fact it was the same things being explained. I already felt like, and I'm like, maybe it's also just he's grown as a writer over time, but I'm not 100% sure what it is, but there could be multiple factors. And I don't really have a favorite character, but again, I think like I didn't dislike Nona, but I think something that for like Yaz, like Nona's whole thing is like friendship and all of that. And for me, I'm like the person who's like, if a friend is going to stab me in the back, I'm going to go, bye. But, you know, a sibling, you know, I would do anything for my sister. So like for me, that was a much more understandable main character.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Agreed on that end.
So I'm so excited because like you haven't read anything else by Mark Lawrence, so I'm nervous, but I'm excited.
Hi, I'm Sahar. My channel name is Literary Sahar. I read mostly fantasy and fantasy romance. I unfortunately did not like this book. I gave it 2 stars.
That's fair.
Which is kind of surprising for me. I really thought I was gonna love this. I do like Mark Lawrence's writing style, so I think I will try Book of the Ancestor, and I own Prince of Thorns as well, so I might give him another chance at some point in the future. I think like my main issue with this book was I really did not care about any characters. And I feel like I just felt so disconnected from them the entire time that even when things were happening and the plot was plotting, I like didn't care. I didn't care about the stakes. I didn't care about, you know, Yaz's goals. And it also felt like I really didn't understand her actions. Like she has like her one main goal, obviously, but it took so long to get there that it didn't feel like it was even that important to her when we finally did. So yeah, but I loved the world. I thought it was really, really interesting. It felt like Alice in Wonderland going down the hole, and I love that. I love learning about everything down there. So that part I really enjoyed, but everything else I was not a fan of.
I get it, sadly. Hi, I'm Cassidy. You're on my channel, so I'm not going to talk about
It's
myself.
not fair, man.
Makes all of us. Yeah.
I reread this one, so on our initial read, I gave this 4 stars. So on reread, I gave it 3 stars. Probably more like a 3.5. But I do personally think that the second one kind of clouded my thoughts on this one because I gave this one 5 stars originally. So I was expecting this one to be really, really good again, and then I forgot what it was like. And I do agree. It's funny because I agree with Maria that the side characters are better than in Book of the Ancestor. But I also agree that Yaz is so much weaker and that you don't really care about Yaz.
Yeah.
But I cared so wholeheartedly about Nona. So I think it's really interesting to see the differences. This is like my 3rd series by Mark Lawrence because I've also read Prince of Thorns. And I do think they all have little differences like that. My favorite character, I believe you say her name is Maya. Who's not in a lot of it, but she kind of reminds me of Nona. I can't lie. She just kind of reminded me of Nona. So
I kept
was obsessed
expecting
with
her to be a reveal of like a character from Book of the Ancestor that we knew some callback to because she seems so, like she feels very of that series.
Predictions involving that, but I'm not going to share them.
Wow, rude. I know them, but
You already know.
I'm gonna just go through some comments really quickly to see what people gave it. So
I
Rachel,
will say
3
my
stars.
is slightly lower, but I still think that I just like that world a lot, and that definitely brought it up for me.
That's fair. Haven't read the Book of the Ancestor series, rated the book 3 stars. My favorite character was no one. Wasn't big on the characters.
Yeah.
That's fair. This definitely is a lot. Just finished this 4 stars, and Thurin was my favorite. I do love him as well. Gave this one 5 stars. Loved it even more than Book of the Ancestor. I read this first too long ago to remember too many details, but 4 stars. Didn't read the first trilogy, but catching up here. 4 stars. Started out really strong, lagged a little in the middle, but overall thought it was pretty good. I also agree that it lags out in the middle quite a bit. love the world in this one, how it expanded what we knew, but the middle was a little slow, low 4 stars. I like the series better than Ancestor, but wonder if that's because I read it first. I think this dives a lot deeper into the world than Ancestor does. I'm debating between 3.5 stars and 4, hoping y'all can convince me to bump it up. 3 stars. I actually like the young girl who was surviving the horrors there by running and hiding. Yeah, Maya. 4 stars. I really like the audiobook of this one. The narrator was great. I also audiobooked this one both times I've read it. Rated this 4 stars. I think that I like Nona more than Yaz, but the side characters are more distinguishable than Book the Ancestor. Yeah.
I have a
After thinking about it,
opinion on that.
Interesting.
That is really interesting. I did like Maya. I wish there was more of her.
In some ways, some of them felt more distinct, but I think that for me, there were so many that a lot of times I was like, who even is this speaking? Because we've introduced 17 different names in the last 5 minutes. And a lot of them didn't have any substance. They were just there to be a part of like the tribe or whatever. But the ones that did have substance were good, but they all kind of, I don't know, felt a little random.
Yeah. For me, there's a difference between side characters and characters just existing in the story. And I think there's a lot of characters that exist in the story, and then there's like a predominant bunch of side
I feel like there's only like 10 tops that actually matter. Not even.
I'm thinking like
I would say not even that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the front group is
Maybe
fine.
more like 6 or 7.
Like Thurin,
I
Elias.
remember 2
Eris.
or 3 characters. The rest still kind of blend a little bit. So to me, even though I know there were more side characters, they just didn't seem as fleshed out as I wanted.
I think my thing with Book of the Ancestors, they felt similar. So like Kettle and Apple I liked, but they felt similar. Nona's friends kind of all felt like one category to me. I think that's where I was liking the difference.
Yeah, they are more distinct. I definitely agree with that.
Oh, this is my 4th Mark Lawrence. I read the Ancestor trilogy first. I think it made it easier to understand the magic. I gave it 4 stars. This is my first Mark Lawrence. The magic was confusing for me. Maybe I should have read the Book of the Ancestor first. Honestly, I don't think the magic is. I think the magic is better explained in this than the Book of the Ancestor for sure. It was just to say I love Mark Lawrence's opening lines, both his Red Sister and this one. Yeah, he's got a good first line. Wonderful writing surprised me.
Sufficient size.
All of Mark Lawrence's main characters are different, which I like. Yes, Maya and Thurin were my favorites, I think, and Asar.
It was Eris. I think
Eris, maybe.
There were 2.
Yeah, a lot of E's.
Elias and then the Eular guy.
I do like Elias too. He's probably my second favorite.
I like Elias, yeah. That one I remember.
He's hard to forget. He's like our yeah. I agree with Mel. The characters weren't that strong point for me. It was the world building and narrative style. I don't think like the characters aren't the strong part for me. I just think they were stronger. Like the side characters were stronger characters than the side characters in Book of the Ancestor. Like the Book of the Ancestor side characters exist for Nona. This one I feel like they existed outside of
That's fair. That's
Agreed.
Fair.
I have not read the Book of the Ancestor series. I gave the book 3 stars. I would say a 3.5. My favorite character was the hot piece of tail blacksmith.
That's great.
But I really liked the leader demon of the Tainted. I did not like the narrator. Her sounded very masculine. I was confused a lot when I was reading along. She also didn't inflect well. I love the magic system and the plot of the story, but the characters brought it down. I do think that this is interesting for people who haven't read Book of the Ancestor because I feel like the characters were such a strong suit in the Book of the Ancestor, and this one's not necessarily like the characters aren't what's pulling you forward in the story.
Which is weird because it's the thing, like I genuinely would not have continued on, but in the end I was like, oh, I'm sad if people are like in danger now. So I get what you're saying. I don't think that's its strong point, but weirdly that's the thing that like has me going, keeps me going.
Yes, I would agree. I also was committed to them surviving and
more of like because of their relationships to each other than them individually as like people I love, if that makes sense.
It definitely does have like found family themes well and prominent.
The background diversity, the side characters impacts the side character in this one versus Red Sister. I would agree with that. They all come from different places, I think, which is cool. I cannot say this guy's name ever, but yes. Eris, yeah, that makes more sense.
It's Prometheus, so I'm guessing it's Theus.
Yeah.
Yes. Anyone have any spoiler-free thoughts?
Was everyone's least favorite character Quell? because he's like Dane Jr. in training.
Mhm.
That is an accurate comparison.
That is. I
Like,
couldn't
don't
even
hate
remember who that was until you said that, and then I was like, "Oh yeah, I know who you're talking about."
He's so possessive.
But like, I also don't hate Quell. Like, I
don't
know
care.
it's a hot take,
Me
but I don't hate
too.
him.
I think one thing with like, the diversity with like the different tribes and stuff, I wanted more of her coming from like the cold and ice and everything to impact more of her interactions with other people. Like it almost felt like we were told that her tribe did things differently, but we weren't really seeing the impacts of that in her interactions and in her demeanor. So I wanted a little bit more of that.
Yeah.
I could definitely agree with that. Quell did give Dane energy. Quell race of betrayal, 100%. Dane
When we get
Jr.
to spoilers, I have a follow-up on that, yeah.
hated Quell. Yeah, I understand the hate for Quell, but I didn't hate him. I feel like he's my Clara. He's a conflicted character that brings a lot to the
agree.
story, in my opinion.
I did also hate Clara,
Which
so
does Dane, and I don't hate
Fair.
Dane either. Oh, rude, go away. Most of the characters were just meh for me, but definitely didn't like Quell. I definitely think I didn't start caring about characters until the end. When I was reading at the beginning, I was like, wait, I gave this 4 stars. Like, what was wrong with me? And then as I kept going, I was like, okay, I kind of understand it.
would you all say it's YA or adult? Like I know it's considered adult, but it feels YA personally is what
Definitely feels
yeah.
Yeah. It
a
felt
little
like
white.
Like I was having trouble in my
It's
spreadsheet.
just one of those genre, like not genre blends,
Yeah.
but like age blends. Like it could go either way. Like,
Yeah, kind of a good starting point.
Yaz feels
Mhm.
younger than Nona in that sense, even though we follow Nona at younger ages. But she just feels so like classic YA character sometimes.
And like
I
some of the
agree.
things that
Well,
she
I feel
focuses
like
on,
I feel like Nona feels younger, but she's like written in an adult way, kind of. But like, because like that was a complaint I had was the fact that like her ages seem to go all over the place. So like while I like think of Nona as like a younger character, like this felt more written YA. Does that
I
make
agree.
sense? Probably not.
I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Room for Quell to annoy Thorin actually annoyed me the most. Thorin, really interesting. That is YA, maybe new adult. Yeah, it's definitely classified as adult, but I think it reads YA. Like not like 13-year-old YA, but definitely like 16-year-old YA.
yeah.
The things she's focused on are like even the like romantic kind of
what does he think
hints we
of
get.
me? He's so hot. Yeah.
Yeah, the romantic like thoughts that she was having, and like she's like, oh, like this really big thing is happening right now, and she's like, oh, but the boy. I'm like, bro.
Every boy she tracks with.
But
Yeah.
the boy.
Like a love square at this point. Yeah.
Like I just wish Celine would have died. Oh, that's a spoiler. I should probably not put that up. We're not at spoilers yet. Sorry. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of YA angst, but I also feel like at 16, I also would have had those thoughts. So I've never
yeah, it wasn't bad.
like
It just
during a battle, I too would be like, honestly, still now, like the first person I'm gonna look for in a battle like that is my partner to see what they're doing to save them.
I think
I
it
think
was
it was
more like
when
not
she
the battle stuff.
got
for
to
me.
know people. Yeah.
Like when when the what was his name came up and she was talking, like thinking how hot he was and everything. Not that it was a problem. It just that was what made it feel more YA to me.
Yeah. And she kept imagining her life with every one of them, which also felt YA of this like I'm kind of creating this future romantically. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It just didn't bother me, but I know for some people that bothers them.
No, it didn't bother me.
It wasn't one where I wish I'd known going in it was YA or anything like that. It's one where just in my spreadsheet I was like, what do I categorize it as? Because it is so borderline, but I don't think it affects like enjoyment. Yeah.
I definitely felt like it felt more YA in the beginning too, because I struggled more beginning to middle than I did more like 2/3 of the way in. I wouldn't even call it the end, but like 2/3 of the way in or so. And I think that just may have led to a little bit of that. Not that it bothered me, just that it was not something I was interested in.
We are going to swap over to spoilers. So if you haven't read, it's time to head on out, but I'm pretty sure everyone here has read it. So I'm going to put that little spoiler banner up. And I can now click on your comment, Kayla. Would have died in the final battle. The whole I have to do this for my brother plot. I didn't want to see more into the rest of the series. Interesting, because this is like the best plot for me, because as someone with a sibling, I love seeing people do this, and like anything you'll do for your sibling.
It made her motivation
just like
sense.
Yeah.
I also think it would have just like annoyed me, because it felt like we actually barely got any of them like actually together, because like especially like that middle bit that really lags. You're just like, come on. You have a goal. Do it, girl.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's how I felt throughout a lot of this book. Is she was like, okay, I gotta find my brother, gotta save him from being tainted. Like that was her goal the whole time. And like I understand we were trying to set the world and like get to know the other characters, but when that was like the kickoff to the entire story and then having to wait like 200 pages to actually get it, I was like, do you even care about saving your brother? Or are you just kind of vibing out here? Like,
yeah.
I do agree with that. I wonder if that is why maybe reading Book of the Ancestor is a good thing first, because like you were introduced to the world already. So I was so curious when I picked this up to like learn more about the world. So I feel like it didn't affect me as much. I still thought it was annoying. Like I was still like, okay, like this is really slow. Can we get places? But I was also really interested in the world. So I wonder if that is maybe a good thing to read Book of the Ancestor first.
It's interesting because I didn't think the plot was slow, but I just didn't care about it. But like I wouldn't have said until you guys mentioned it, I wouldn't have said there was ever like the middle lagged or anything like that. It just was plot that I like, events that I don't care about. But I thought it was realistic the way that like she couldn't immediately go rescue Zine because she needed this information or needed this help or needed to do this first. It felt realistic, but it just was like a lot of creatures and battles and survival things, and I just am bored by that in general. But
yeah,
I'm surprised you guys are saying it was slow.
I definitely like, I agree with like, I think the stuff was necessary, but I just wish she had like pushed back a little, because it just felt like she was always like, I need to go get my brother. She'd like bring it up and they'd be like, yeah, but we have to do this thing first, which like I totally understood, like for like plot reasons that they needed to do this thing. But like the fact that she never said like just like push back, she just kind of went, okay then. Like I just wanted like just for her to do a little bit of pushback. Like in the end, let's be honest, she would still end up doing the thing that they want, but at least it would kind of add to that urgency.
Yeah, 100% agree.
I like that she fails in a way Nona doesn't when she goes and tries to rescue him and doesn't succeed and only loses people. I liked that it wasn't so easy.
Yes.
See, I did have that was one thing that bothered me actually a little bit was, and this is coming from like Book of the Ancestor versus Book of the Eyes, but I felt like a lot of the magic and the Marjal magic that she had, whereas Nona, we see it comes relatively easy to her, but she's still, it's a school setting. So she's kind of coached through how to approach a lot of this. And like there is a little bit of instruction, and you know, it makes sense that it comes easily to her, but it's still not just completely out of nowhere. I felt like a lot of Yaz's abilities, they were just like, well, you might be able to do this, or she'll stand there and she's like, okay, well, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this, and then suddenly it magically happens. And I'm like, how in the world did you know to even attempt that, to try that, to think about that? Because you lived
I would say that is very much like what Nona does.
That's,
it bugged me more here than it did.
Nona did things in a different way all the time too, so I fully agree.
It bugged me a lot more here than it did, because I was just, it would pull me out and I'd be like, there's no way you would know this.
Especially because she came into it without the magic. Like without really having, other than the river.
Yeah.
Bother me, but there's something I can't say in case people haven't read Book of the Ancestor of why it didn't bother me. But I think if I hadn't read Book of the Ancestor, it could have bothered me.
Yeah, it definitely did. It did bother me.
And like she was told a few times information that got her places, specifically by Elias.
She was, but there were still a lot of moments where it was like, you've never been told anything like this. How do you even know to try this?
Yeah, she didn't know like literally
she was
anything
successful in it. Just that, how would she even know to try it? Not that it was too easy for her. Does that make sense? Like it didn't bother me that it was easy.
I think the idea is that like it was natural and she kind of just like went with where her like the feeling was going. But I agree.
Yeah. I just wish there had been a little bit more behind that, like on page, I think.
I get it. For me though, it's just like some people are going to just like naturally do things like that, and then the little hints she got and the thing that makes things easier.
Yeah.
I feel like
that
he just
follows
follows
bother me, but I completely get it.
Like he kind of chooses those types of like not chosen one because of like there's that whole conversation of are they chosen, but he kind of follows magically gifted, unique individuals in his stories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There were plot conveniences in this one.
It bothered me in the moment, but I can't see that.
Like I remember I was really annoyed about the flame thing, that all of a sudden Elias can like snap his fingers and there's a flame when we need fire.
He didn't bother me as much.
That annoyed me. I was like, of course. We need fire, so right now we're gonna
He did not bother me as much.
Yeah, I think the magic is set up in a way that it is like a little bit conveniency, so it doesn't bother me because the magic's set up that way, where it's like a little bit of like what you can do.
What do you mean by explain a little more?
Like it's really about who you are as a person and like your ability. Like it's not like necessarily like trained, it's more like so
yeah,
I feel like
because like all of it's like very innate. Like the Hunskas, they're just fast. They're fast.
Yeah,
and
no
so,
one
like,
has to teach them.
Yeah,
they're just fast.
And nobody questions
there had
it
been
either.
a little bit more on page that was like, I feel like I should, like something that she was thinking it through or had like this, I should know how to do this. Something.
Yeah, I get that. But I think like considering like some blood types, like you know, they're fast, they're strong, and like nobody goes, oh, well, they need to learn how to do that stuff. So like, why wouldn't the other two also be just like innate skills that they have?
If you've seen this river for your entire life, why wouldn't you know some of these things? For me, like that's just like it felt like very much like you've been that way.
Yeah,
but like I get that it could bother other people. I am
someone
the
stars than the river.
The stars, yeah.
It was the stars, not the river. That bugged me.
I find it hard to believe though that she's like broken in a way where she can't survive on the ice now, because she can survive these like really big powerful magic uses and all she gets is a headache. Like she doesn't collapse, she can still climb cages, she could still like walk, she could still fight, even though she says she's like completely depleted or really hurt or broken. So I kind of feel like she will be able to live on the ice for that reason, other than being cold.
I think the idea of her being broken is that she's not like the other people. Like she's been questioning stuff. She's not willing just to follow. So she thinks she's broken because she is outside of what they expect.
When she like pulls out the hunter's star, she specifically says like something broke in her.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Later.
If that's what I think it is, because I don't remember book 2 that well anymore, I will not say it.
Okay. I was wondering if there'd be something with that. You know?
Yaz only has Quantal blood. Yeah, she's definitely a very, very powerful Quantal. Wait. I wish this whole book was them just surviving beneath ice and learning more about the world and keep the fight with the tainted going. But maybe keep the secrets of working with the Revelator. I cannot say words. Yeah, I'm interested to see where you guys think the series is going. I've obviously only read book 2, so I don't know. Unlike with Book of the Ancestor, I don't know the ending, which is kind of fun.
In fairness, I don't think you can tell from book 1 of Book of the Ancestor where that series is going.
No, not at all.
So I don't know where the series is going. I'm just gonna
spill on
here.
I got frustrated with Yaz, but I also think that's because he did a good job of presenting someone who was never expected a life outside what she knew. Also, yeah. I think this goes back to why I didn't care as much that she didn't push back, because it was clear to me that on the ice you don't push back. You just do what you're told. So I think that's why it didn't bother me as much when she was like, okay, well, I have to go look for my brother. Because
but also, she jumped into a huge pit, which she's not supposed to do.
Yes, but I also get the frustration.
Yeah. I feel like my thought process with that was like a little different with how on the ice you do what you're told. And so I think that formed in her mind like conceptions of how things are. And now that she's down below, things are different. I would have expected her to push back more because all of the concepts and everything that she was raised believing and, you know, the way her mind worked is like being shattered almost now. So to me, I wish that she had acted more on that in that way.
Yeah, I get that. I think I could see a character going either way, so I understand wanting that for sure. But I also can see a character having so much crumbled around her that she doesn't push back. But like I see both, so like I also understand wanting that if like it didn't work for you. Yeah, like Jonathan, they're the same worlds, so like all the magic is the same. I don't think that's at all a spoiler in any way.
No.
You learn really early on in book the end. Like they both teach you pretty quickly about bloods. I know.
I kind of
where it's
liked.
going.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just reading, so go.
Okay. I was gonna say I kind of liked her clinging and not fighting back because I took that as part of her. She almost clings to I forget what her tribe is, the Ishka or whatever they are. She clings to that as like her core values in the way that Nona clings to like her beliefs a little bit because that's what keeps her going in a lot of moments when she's about to give up. She like says like, we don't give up, we persevere. We never like, we are fighters. And I felt like that kind of made sense in the not pushing back too. Like she kind of clings to her identity, but also at the same time is opening up some other beliefs. So it worked for me, but I get what you guys are saying.
Yeah. I don't know where it's going. I expect Yaz to end up in the corridor and topple the priest, but that's it. I guess she needs to defeat the evil AI too. I didn't know if these were specific terms that people in the ice. There are some specific terms, but some universal for sure. I don't think the priests under the Black Rock and those in the corridor are completely different. Because they can't call them broken for it because they can't endure in the ice, but it's really just people with magic in the land, I guess. Yes, they're just broken because they have magic. Okay. How'd y'all feel about the last line?
It's been too long.
I'm like,
Get my book.
I'm pretty sure it's and the cage dropped.
Oh.
It's like, let's take.
and have them
Yaz
drop
home.
the cage.
Yeah. I'm annoyed because I don't want them to spend the whole second book getting back together. Like I was excited, even if we don't go across the ice to the green belts or the corridor. I wanted them to be, even if it was like under the mountain together and like I don't want that long separation. I was excited for the group dynamic.
Okay.
I'm just excited.
I feel like I read it and I was like, they're like got this huge freaking plot and it feels so smart of them to send her up early, and then all of a sudden it's like, well, he knows, like he's too smart for them. How are they gonna win? I hope Maya will somehow stop them from dropping the cage. Yes, broken because different.
I think I didn't love the Euler plot twist because I wanted it to be other plot. Like I kept thinking Quell would be the plot twist and he was already tainted. Or like I thought I loved the Thurin plot twist. I did not see that coming. Elias, I thought would be like the evil guy, and Elias was actually like released into the world and was actually evil. So like I wanted it to be other things, and then it was like the blind guy.
I do think this one had some good plot twists in it for me that I didn't see coming. Specifically, like Thurin being tainted the entire time. I was like, oh my god, wait, what?
Yeah, that was wild.
That one was good.
That was really good.
Yeah, like I don't think there's anything that like I was like it stopped me and I was like, oh my god. But like there was like a lot of little moments which I never had in Book of the Ancestor. Like even like finding out when like they mentioned like about all of the different like, you know, Margil and all of that. And being like just that little moment I was like, oh my god. Like just all of those little things. Like all of it added up. And it was very nice.
Elias is the robot guy.
We might be Eris. Yeah. Wait.
There are two. There's Elias and Eris.
Okay, I meant Eris, the one who goes out with them out of the city, I think. And Elias is he the taproot guy who give her the needle?
No.
Whichever one gave her the needle is not the one I'm talking about. I meant the
the
robot guy.
The robot is
Yeah.
who we're talking about.
Yeah.
Eris is the robot.
Eris.
Honestly,
There's
the names
so
just leave me.
There's
Like
too
they
many
just
names.
left me so quickly.
You can't name
Elias
everything by the same letter.
Yeah.
Did it for all of us? Well, wait, Sahar, have you read Burning Blade? You haven't yet, right?
Mm-mm.
Okay. And then Bex, you haven't either. But for the three of us who have, did it give you strong Burning Blade and Silver Eye vibes? Because it's the first series I would compare to that, I think.
It didn't, but I can see it when you say it. But no, I didn't just reading it.
I've only read the first book in that, but I was literally a
Okay.
couple minutes ago, I was about to say how I'm worried about reading the second book in that, just like with this one, because of the fact that people are separated again. And I'm afraid that it's going to be like a repeat of the same plot. And so it is weird that you have now compared the two. Because
It just, because of the hunters, the way those are described, and the fighting with them, and then like the sibling, like trying to save the sibling vibes, just like the world a little bit. For me, I hesitate to say if you liked one, read the other, because I liked one way more than the other, but to me they felt similar.
I see it, and I don't see it all at once. But I would like, if there's specific things you liked about this or that one, I could compare those things. But I feel like as a whole,
Vibes are very different.
Yeah, but like also see it, like the siblings, but like a little bit techie, like all of that.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see them separated. I feel like that could be like the redemption for this series for me, of like if he does it the same way as book one, or I also feel like we didn't get obviously a lot of moments with Zine, right? So like the only way I could connect to her motivations was the fact that it was her sibling. But other than that, in terms of like emotions beyond that, it didn't feel anything for me. But because we spent like a whole book with these characters and now they're separated, even though I didn't love the characters, I still got to see their interactions together and see them form their bonds and friendships together. I feel like I might be a little bit more emotionally invested in like her trying to like get them back, or them trying to get back up.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Are you continuing then? I was gonna ask you this.
Yeah, I think I will.
Are you two continuing? Mel's continuing, I already know. But are you two continuing?
yeah, I never actually doubted it, because actually at first I thought it might be a 4-star, and I was very excited, and then the middle got slow, and then it got down to a 3. But
Maria, you look undecided.
Yeah, I went the opposite way because I was really bored, and then I was like, I was pretty sure I was gonna come out and be I can't go take another book of this, and now I'm kind of intrigued. But then I read the synopsis, and now I'm less intrigued. I think I'm gonna give it a go because that's the one everyone's blown away by. And then, but then I feel like I'll just be convinced to read the last one. So I mean, maybe
Because there's just one left at that point, Maria.
So I guess
actually think
Try.
What?
I would say try. I mean, obviously, like I loved the second a lot more than the first.
I'm pretty sure he's not the writer for me at this point. But
I
I'm
could see
curious
you
to know.
liking a book that wouldn't burn.
Interesting. Okay.
Deb,
Don't read Prince of Thorns. You will hate it. You'll hate every aspect of it. So do not
I
read Prince of Thorns.
I think it's just his writing style, which is what worries me about picking up other things, because I think I just
That's
don't click
fair.
with it. And
the
that's a
writing
hard
style
thing
is very similar.
to overcome.
I think if you were intrigued by the ending of this one, I would continue into the next one.
Yeah.
I
think I
also know
will.
something that I want to tell you, but I won't. So that you need to maybe continue.
Okay.
Oh, I'm excited for the next one.
I'm not continuing custody. I don't know where you got that from. I don't want to hang out.
What?
With you. I'm not continuing. I don't know where you got that from.
Oh, yeah. You know, your 4-star really sounds like you hated the book. I kind of hope Eula will force Yaz to learn how to use the pass to get a bit of school setting while she tries to find a way to escape the rock. Like,
Sorry, Kayla. I really hope the opposite.
Yeah. What is going on? The last line annoyed me. I'm pretty sure I was internally screaming at the moment. I do wonder if he'll stay good.
Can I just I don't think. Never mind. I don't think I can say that. The last line with no context is just, if you just think about it with no context, it's just the words themselves. I just wonder if that was like slightly.
Oh, I never thought about that.
I didn't either until you said it with no other words around it, and I was like, oh.
Yeah, I won't say anything. I read the first half and then listened to the audio for the next half. I wonder if the audio made it worse for me. I have heard multiple people talk about not loving Mark Lawrence books in audio. I listened to the audio for these ones and liked it, but I read Book of the Ancestor physically and loved those. So
I audioed Book of the Ancestor the first time around and liked them, and physically read it the second time around and loved them. Now, whether that was a reread thing or what, I don't know, but I struggle with his books on audio.
My fondest memories of Book of the Ancestor were audio moments, but it could be because of like it was the stuff that was happening in book one that were like the high action moments. So it could have just been what it was. So I wanted to listen to this one on audio, and I bought the audio, and then I just ran out of time. But I think I had the opposite experience where I liked it more that way.
Is that Lexi playing with the Jingle Bell toy?
No.
She wishes. Everyone sounds like they're continuing. Hi, Carly. Welcome to the book club of the book you didn't read. Audio doesn't work for me most of the time. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about this book, to be honest. I feel like this book is more confusing to me than Book of the Ancestor. But also simpler because it feels YA. So like I don't know how that works well together.
The world and like the way that the scenes kind of jump between one another can be a little bit confusing.
I think it's more confusing than book one, but like book 2 and 3 of Book of the Ancestor kind of got a bit all over the place for me anyway. Whereas like book 1, I still like very clearly remember like the major plot points. Whereas 2 and 3 they're already gone.
Did you
Whereas
guys
with this one,
the mining of the like people coming?
I don't get that. Like I don't know I don't understand that.
So like you go into the city and he talks about how someone made the hunters, and the hunters take people and they never see their bodies because they're mining the people.
But we don't know for what?
We don't know for what, besides they have the powers. So they're mining them for their powers. They get dropped into the pit. They learn how to use their... It's essentially a school setting. Like really...
Yeah, that part confused me because I didn't get it. Yeah.
Yeah. They like drop down. I was wondering if anyone saw that coming. I didn't when I read it.
I didn't.
But there's definitely the hints there on reread, like about the hunter and how the hunters were made by another person and things like that.
Well, I know Quinoa. I'm guessing she comes back in some way with the hunters because she was like we don't show her body. We just are told that she's taken away. So I'm assuming she's tied in to that plot.
Yeah. Minecraft. I'm definitely confused, but trusting the process. Hopefully start to understand more in the second book. I would like to say I think I was still confused. And I think that's why it dropped a star for me, where like Book of the Ancestor, I feel like on reread all confusion was gone for me. But I wonder if that's having not read the third book.
I was also a little confused, and that's part of the reason like it got a lower 4 stars, because I was like, I bet there's just something that I missed in audio when I like wasn't paying attention for a second, and it's all going to make sense. So I bet I'm the reason it was confusing, not the book was actually confusing. And knowing that everyone else was confused makes me want to drop it down.
Yeah. Yeah, even knowing where it goes in book 2. I'm also kind of confused at how I got to the end of book 2 at this point. So we'll see where that goes. I don't know.
Read the synopsis of the book 1 because I feel like that's what things are explained. Like he does a good job with the summary. I mean the the summary in the first, like in each book.
I'm not like worried about it because he does those summaries. If he didn't do those summaries, there is a good chance I would want to go back and like reread the last 100 pages before continuing on, because there were things I felt like I missed, but it also sounds like that was intentional.
He like lays it out more plainly in those than he does in the
Mhm.
books. Even Book of Ancestor, I read that and I was like, oh, I missed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Even on reread, I feel like I still missed things sometimes. Okay, well, I have nothing else to talk about. If anyone else has anything to pinpoint.
Nope. Good job, team.
Okay. Relishing the
because
liking it
One
the
thing.
most about it.
Is it a spoiler to say the name of the third book? And I mean, probably not, right? People can see it.
It's out. I feel like it's out. So like,
Yeah.
it's not a
I'm
spoiler. People
curious
can
to see
that.
how we get to the girl in the moon because of like how the Book of the Ancestor focuses a lot on the moon. I'm curious what Yaz has to do with that because we have the stars, the mountain, and those make sense. And now I want to know what 3 is. That's my only thought.
To answer Cassidy's first question, Quinoa is definitely my favorite character.
Yeah, that's not going anywhere anytime soon.
How else do you say it though?
No. The worst is like I listen to the audiobook, so when people write things, I'm sitting there like, wait, what name is that? Because I don't remember like how they're set. Some of them are pronounced really weird. So okay, I'm gonna end this here. I feel like this is like the shortest live show we have ever had. I don't know what that means for the book, but I hope we come back and book 2 is 2 hours long, like we normally do. Also, I feel like we all agreed.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe
I mean,
that's
that's why it was shorter. We didn't have to argue our point.
This is random, but Sahara, love your bun.
Oh, thanks.
I did regret not reading Ancestor first.
I will report back when I'm finished with these, and you can easily read them separate, but it does feel like the vibes are better.
I think it's interesting because I feel like you could take good things into either of them, depending on what you read first.
Yeah, that's true. I definitely don't think you have to read Ancestor first by any means. At least based on what I've read so far.
Yeah. Okay. We're going to keep talking. Otherwise, I'm going to end this. Bye. Thanks for hanging out. Reminder to read the next book before the 3rd weekend of March. There's a lot going on in March, obviously. Hint, hint, wink, wink. So it's going to be the 3rd weekend. But other than that, I got nothing else to say. Oh, there is the Discord, which is linked in the description bar. All of these lovely people are linked in the description bar. And if you are wanting any of the merch, it's also linked in the description bar. Yeah. Bye. Bye-bye. I'm ending.